Discover how to create your estate plan to secure generational wealth in today's episode with Oscar Vasquez. And he is the founder of estate.prep.com. And he's an expert in estate planning who helps families and homeowners protect their assets from the high cost of probate, from creating living trusts to avoiding costly estate planning mistakes. Oscar's insights could save you thousands and provide peace of mind. The first question I have is, what's the secret to your success? And does learning how to create your estate plan have anything to do with it? Welcome to Awakened Titans podcast with Lily Patrascu, mind-blowing conversations with influential business titans sharing how you can manifest abundance, love, joy, success through quantum awakening, quantum manifestation, quantum healing, quantum miracles, exponential business growth, and innovative products and services.
It does. So now I can tell you, the secret to our success, I think, if you go into it, is consistency and dedication. I think is probably one of the biggest secrets. But I think that where most people, I think the easy part is creating it. And the second, is creating the wealth. The hardest part is keeping it, right? Because there's so many stories. There's so many stories that we have in successful and many people that I've known that have created abundance of wealth, but they don't have how to keep it, and they don't have the right mechanisms in place. So one of the tools is that we use is estate planning. In other words, AKA a living trust. So I like to explain in layman's terms, the simplest way that I could explain a living trust is a contract between, or an estate plan is a contract between the grantor and B, the beneficiaries, which are your kids. Who's going to benefit when you pass, or your beneficiaries? And the courts in all 51 states help you and get that enforced to make sure that your estate plan is enforced, and your wishes they're no longer become wishes, they are now demands that you wish to execute, that want to execute when you're gone. So that is what an estate plan does. And when you're a business owner, most businesses, a lot of small businesses or businesses have tremendous assets. Like, a book, that is an asset that's going to keep getting royalties. It's going to keep getting income. You also have, which most people don't understand, that we have an asset, which is a digital asset, which is all of our social media posts. That is a digital media post. So I would say that one is estate planning, one understanding it by saying estate planning is a contract between you and your beneficiaries when you're gone, right? And there you go.
Thank you. Tell us how, imagine I don't have children and I don't intend to have children. Okay. But I would like to leverage estate planning in the sense that maybe perhaps I don't pay as much tax,
Yes.
How do you do that so that, let's say, I intend to publish 100 books, and
Yes.
at some point these will be generating perhaps some
income.
Some income. And then let's say that I plan to buy a lot more properties. Okay. And if I buy them all in my name, then perhaps I will end up again paying a lot of tax as well. So what would be your recommendation in terms of setting up some sort of estate plan, so that perhaps I'm not so worried about, who's going to benefit once I'm gone, but maybe how to manage my upcoming wealth, let's say.
Right. Well, here's the thing. Estate planning is mostly to plan for what happens when you're not here, right? So what happens is one of the ways, and that's for this is to plan to what happens after you're gone, and that's what an estate plan is designed to do, to be able to benefit. Now, having an estate plan in place that is a revocable estate plan, meaning you can put assets in and take assets out. A book is an asset that keeps on giving. I would say the book is probably one of the best royalty books. We have myself. I have a an account with Amazon that we have over 63 books that has been generating income for the last 8 years. We haven't published a book in 5 years, right? We took 3 years. We did that in there. We put that income into the living trust. That income in the living trust is we use that income to be able to acquire more assets. Now, in the United States, we have it in the living trust. We have what's called a self-directed IRA in the living trust, which means the taxes are deferred indefinitely until you withdraw, right? And then you have to do that withdrawal. Now, a living trust that we design is designed that for the pass, when you pass, your beneficiaries don't have to pay those taxes. And here's how it benefits. For example, you buy an estate and a property that is worth $100,000. When you die, it's worth $500,000. That's a gain of $400,000. When you die, your beneficiaries would have a new cost basis of 500,000, no longer 100, which means that then if your estate says, I want this to go into second generation, or I want this to go into a different organization, it could be a charitable donation, or it can go into loved ones, right? So the estate planning that we have for business owners is what happens to your business when you're no longer here. And the old saying is Michael Jackson makes more money now dead than he did when he was alive, right? Elvis Presley still makes money today, and he's been dead for many years. And those are all famous people that have existing trusts that still generate income. So that gives you an idea of the power of estate planning.
Thank you. What's the difference between planning for your, to secure for generational wealth and not doing anything, like doing what regular people do, which is nothing?
Yeah, well, I mean, regular people, you got to take into consideration, right? I think that regular people, they don't take the time. They watch TV, they don't watch podcasts, right? Or they don't learn. And that's the difference, I think, for most. So what the difference between the people that have an estate plan and don't have it? It has the ability to create generational wealth for generations to come, right? Or somebody would benefit. So your beneficiaries could be anybody. It could be an organization. It could be a business. It could be somebody can benefit from that. And it can have, when we say generation, we would call it, for example, levels. And levels would be like, for example, I don't have it. I have one child, but with my wife, we have no kids. So a lot of our beneficiaries are my nephews, and we're godparents to many kids. So they're going to be they are our beneficiaries. So how they benefit most is that, one, they won't have to worry about college, like unlike us, right? We're not educated people. We didn't have the fortune, but we're self-employed and we hustled and we worked hard to be able to sacrifice to be able to get that. They'll have that opportunity to be able to have that generational wealth, which means the options to go to an Ivy League school and have it paid for because Uncle Oscar prepared for it ahead of time. Right? So the biggest fear that most people have is, do I outlive my money? I don't want to outlive my money. I don't want to run out of money. But by being able to have an estate plan, the generations to come won't have to, because you'll have to pay less in taxes.
Thank you. So is the biggest benefit for estate planning the fact that you get to, first of all, pay less tax, and second, is there something else?
Yes, the biggest benefit. Yes, for example, the largest benefit. I'll give you an example, and how I say, is this a good investment? And here's how I always say, if it's always a good investment, if you pay what you pay today, you get more later. And here's what happens to an estate plan. Today, if you're on this show, we're going to give you guys a code, what's called Awaken Titans. You're going to save $1,000, and that means that your estate plan, you use a coupon code Awake Titans. If you use that code, you're going to save $1,000. So that means your investment would be $1,495. $1,495. But that minimum investment that you buy, if you're a homeowner, you're going to save $26,000. Your beneficiaries, your heirs, your people that you're going to leave your asset behind to is going to save a minimum of $26,000 in the state of California. Now, I have seen if you have 3 homes, it could be up to about $180,000 in probate fees. Those are just court fees. And what does that mean by when I court fees? So what happens is if you don't have an estate plan, the government, the United States government decides what happens to your property. They decide what happens to your books, happens to your business, what happens to your homes, what happens to your real estate. Everything gets decided by the government on what happens if you don't have an estate plan. So you make no decisions whatsoever. If you have an estate plan, 1, you save money. 2, there is no fighting for your assets. And 3, most importantly, you get to decide on what happens, not the government. And those are probably the 3 biggest benefits that we see it being out there as a benefit of having an estate plan in place. And I mean, would you give $1,400 today for $26,000 tomorrow? Absolutely, right? That is just something that is one of the best investments. It's like, the book that keeps on giving, the gift that keeps on giving, right? And that estate plan, then you can do that. You're on mute.
How do you currently benefit from the trust that you set up where, let's say, you're still living, right? And how do you currently benefit from the books that you currently have in terms of, like, let's say, are you able to withdraw that money to use it for your personal benefit? And if yes, like what's the difference between that and then just using like a normal account to do that?
Yeah, well, I can tell you the estate planning. If you put that into a Roth, you can't withdraw the money if it's on there. But you can buy assets that you can benefit from. You can buy cars, you can buy homes, and you can live in the house, and the trust has it, right? So there is no. So the biggest benefit that I can say is a living benefit, right? Because most of the benefits are when you pass. The biggest benefit that you can have by having an estate plan in place is that it's protected. It's protected stronger than the corporate veil of an LLC, of a corporation. It's stronger than that because you don't own it, you only control it. So by you controlling it, it can generate. So when it generates income, if you have it into a retirement mechanism, a tax shelter, it can become that, but you have to put those mechanisms inside the living trust. So the living trust is just a shelter to be able to help you and shelter you from that and protect it. It protects you. That's why we always say, it's a foundation because the first part is creating, the second part is protecting, and which is keeping, right? Because creating is one part and the protecting is the second part. And then being able to have it outlive you is the ultimate gift that you can give to any industry and or your loved ones.
Thank you. So let's say that you're gonna put 100 books into this trust, and they are going to create royalties. At some point, you can actually buy a house with it. Yeah, and then
that is correct.
And then the house will actually be owned by the trust. But you, whilst living, you are going to be the first beneficiary of it. Is that how it works?
Yeah, you are the trustee. In other words, you're going to, for example, we on the income that we get from our books, we buy businesses, right? Because in California, I mean, the houses are too expensive now. I mean, an 800 square foot house is $1 million, right? So what we do is we buy businesses with our books, our income from our books. We save them and then we accumulate that. So that income gets distributed into the trust, and then that gets accumulated. How you benefit is by living inside the house and not having to pay rent. That's your benefit because the trust owns it. And part of your benefit is to stay there. It just becomes an expense at that point, of an expense to the trust for being able to operate your business out of the home.
Okay, that's so interesting. So tell us, what other benefits are there for setting up this estate plan, and how would someone get started to kind of set
Okay.
this up?
Okay, well, look, the biggest benefits is going to be, this is our estate planning. The biggest benefits is going to be for your beneficiaries and your loved ones. That's the biggest benefit. One, and two, you're going to save probate costs and court costs. So when you pass, what happens to your assets? So how you get started is you go to estate.prep, estate.doc, DOC, prep, with like preparation, and you go to the checkout page, and normally on our website we sell it for $2,500. If you use our coupon code of awake titans, you get $1,000 off to all of the listeners that take action now. And we'll be able to walk you through the entire process. You're going to get an email. We're going to contact you, and we're going to walk you through the estate planning process. And it's a comprehensive estate plan. Comprehensive, which means it's the most detailed estate planning that can be done through, and it's recognized by all 52 states in America.
Wow, that's fascinating. So tell us about your journey, and how did you start doing this?
I'm a serial entrepreneur. I own, like I said, I have a small publishing business that I started, and I worked on it for 3 years, and I kind of left it on autopilot. And that was my, probably one of the first businesses that I did that was passive income for me. That was truly passive because I just run small ads. We sell books, and that was one of the things that we did. I've been a serial. I haven't been employed. I think the last time I was employed, I was a shoe shine boy, and I was 8 years old. I mean, I started my first business at 9. I have always been into this, but after seeing hundreds of families pay millions and millions of dollars in probate fees in the real estate industry, because that's where I've made my small fortune. I don't say, I'm not a gazillionaire, but I live well. We take great vacations. We take 2-3 months at a time. And after seeing that, we said, how can we best bring value to the marketplace and be able to add a great foundation to people that are self-employed and that are entrepreneur spirits? How do we help people keep their assets that they work for? So that's where we ended up coming up with the software. We invested millions of dollars to be able to generate the software that can help people. And this is why it costs less to do an estate plan with us than anybody else, because we use a software. We paid an attorney. The attorney drafted software to be able to be used in anywhere in the United States. So if you're self-employed, my recommendation, and you have any type of asset, it doesn't matter how big or how small, protect it, because not protecting it is like just leaving your door open to your house.
Thank you. How do you decide which of your income goes into the trust and which of your income goes into your personal checking account or savings account?
Estate planning is mostly designed. It's not designed to shelter your income. It's designed to protect the asset. So, for example, the book is the asset. The intellectual property is the asset. So you always decide on what assets you want to put in there. I always say this: if it's worth more than $5,000, put it in the trust, because other than that, that's how you protect it. So I would say, I got a watch collection. We have a lot of things that go into the trust. We put those into the trust. It's a mandatory must to anything over $5,000 should be put into the trust.
Thank you. So then how do you decide like how much of that do you kind of keep to yourself to kind of live and, have other?
Well, we don't, this specific trust is an estate planning trust. It's not how I decide. Everybody, you got to look at your own financial plan, and look at where you want. I'm a W-2 employee, but I'm a W-2 employee in 3 corporations, right? It's because in where we live, we're a high taxable state. So we want to eliminate as much taxes, not eliminate, sorry. We want to avoid paying as much as we have to, but the living trust, it's a revocable living trust, is mostly designed to protect your assets from lawsuits, from people trying to steal it from you, and it's very private because a living trust is only for your information.
Thank you. How do you transfer from your, let's say I have a number of books already and that are generating some royalties, and can you at any point decide to kind of transfer that on into the trust and back as well if you decide to kind of take it out of there? Or
yes, you can sell assets, you can eliminate. As a trustee, and you are the owner, which you are not the owner, sorry, you are the controller, you control it. So you could take the assets, for example, in our books, we put it under a publishing LLC, we publish under an LLC. So we took that LLC and we transferred the stock into the living trust. A home, and that's called, it's not called a transfer, it's called a funding because we fund it into the trust. A real estate property, a real property, gets transferred by grant deed in every state of the land. And so then the owner becomes the trust. However, you still control 100% of it. You can put it in and you can take it out. You can take it in, you can pick it out. You could swap it in, you could swap it out, and you can do anything that you want when the trust while you're still alive. Once you're no longer alive, your wishes, your demands become the trust of what you want to have happen. And that's it's no fun because you've already lived it, but it's for your beneficiaries, right? That's the main purpose, is to say, hey, what happens when you're no longer here? What do you want to have happen?
Thank you. Where can entrepreneurs find you?
My entrepreneurs, they can call me directly on my cell phone. If they want to text me, I recommend that. You can find me at estate.prep.com, or they can call me on my cell phone. I'll be more than happy to give anybody any kind of orientation at 805-290-6044. Once again, 805-290-6044 is my personal cell phone number.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential business titans, providing you with the insights to awaken to your full potential so you can get paid to be yourself, find true happiness, and manifest anything you desire.